Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for the Year of the Raven. It's episode 35 of the Salty Dog Podcast.
Let's get salty!
Ahoy! And welcome to episode 35 of the Salty Dog Podcast. I'm Clash, he's Dookie.
We're your salty captains.
That's right. That's right. So we're getting hype about a bird, not the best bird, which is objectively the parrot, of course, but the Raven. The Year of the Raven approaches.
Year of the Raven.
Finally, we got an announcement. It was super cool. Just popped up like in my Facebook feed as I was scrolling. What was it? 2 days ago, and I was just like, an announcement. It felt like it had been so long, you know.
Da, 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 da. Announcement.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff. So, you wanna run us through the key points?
Well, yeah, we're gonna do that.
First,
we'll hit that in the news. We obviously we're gonna spend a lot of time on news. We're also gonna spend a lot of time today on our card challenge segment at the end. This is kind of the biggest one almost that we may have ever done as far as amount of submission and things that need to be explained as far as mechanics and hero powers. But no, it's cool. It's cool. We actually, you're not going to be able to see us actually on those slides if you're here with us live or watching the VOD. We had to take up the whole screen, so we have a lot to go over there too. So we're skipping a couple of our other normal segments too, like no going through deck lists, meta talk, or salty cards or anything like that. We're just gonna focus on this Year of the Raven stuff and then card submissions. But as far as this week though, you've been doing some Brawlsalium, right? That's kind of like the hot topic for this week. Yeah,
I kind of finally broke down and sort of took your advice on Wild, just because we're both pretty sick of the current standard meta, and a new Tavern Brawl comes out, and I'm like, not gonna not play it, especially because you get a free run of it. But if this is a thing with the high stakes like the arena, then I'm gonna make sure I can do the absolute best that I can at it.
Of course.
I can't just be a casual player. I must let this consume my soul side. Took over, and so I looked up like the best wild decks right now, because I literally have no idea what's good. Aside from the cheese decks we were talking about, like the giant warlock and stuff like that. And I saw like one of the highest performing decks is they actually called it Burn Mage. And it's a hyper aggressive variant of Secret Mage, and it only runs a few different cards from the standard one. But it makes a difference when you've got those mad scientists in there, because that card is just messed up powerful.
In Mage, Mad Scientist is so incredible. It's a 2-mana 2/2, which isn't even that bad, and it gives you 3 mana worth of a free card and a draw. Like it's so much better than Arcanologist in Mage that it's crazy. And Arcanologist is good enough. But,
So I laddered with that a little bit to practice, because I wanted to make sure I could go in like, at the top of my game. And I was actually a little drunk too. But I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And
right on.
I did. Oh my god, I did so well in ladder. I was just plowing through the low ranks, and then I was like, all right, it's time to try this Tavern Brawl. And God, I don't know if I've ever played a deck that I love more than that deck. Like
I could see that.
It feels exactly like the red decks that I used to play in Magic. Even though it's got secrets, which seem more of like a control element when it's stuff like explosive runes, because those are basically like, those are the instants that you're normally playing on your opponent's turn when you're using a red deck to keep the field clear so your minions can stay on the front lines and power through. And I would just be kind of going through the motions, and turn 5 would roll around, and I'm like, they're at 6, or like it would get to a point where I'm like, shit, they're really like outvaluing me now. And then I would look through my hand and be like, oh my god, I have lethal. This is crazy. So, God, so I'm 4-0 right now, and
that's very good. That's very good.
Yeah, so I'm excited to maybe play some more of that after the show, because I'm loving that deck. That is my kind of deck right there.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. I mean, it's got the good minions. Like, it needs to be wild, right? Because you've got, like, the broken older stuff that you can't use anymore. Like, does it use Forgotten Torch? I feel like that's particularly good burn. So, like, you've got that really good, like, burn that you don't have access to anymore. Did you craft Alaneth? Like,
I sure did.
Okay, so you did. Okay, yeah, that's... And then, but one thing I've totally noticed, like, just playing a lot more... wild myself. I haven't gotten into the Brawlsalium yet, but that's basically Wild Ladder, which I have been doing.
Yeah.
Not today though, because Ladder's been down all day, which is kind of funny. But at least we have Brawlsalium, right? I was like, oh, what a coincidence. I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on and be a Redditor for a second and be like, it's weird because when I first noticed Brawlsalium go live, nobody was streaming it. Like there were people live, but they were just doing standard ladder. And then the next day, it's like, whoops, ladder's broken, sorry. And then,
gosh, you guys are going to have to find something else to do.
Anyway,
gold.
One thing that I've definitely noticed just doing more wild than I have in a long time is that power creep is so noticeable especially after Kobolds and Catacombs. Like, the cards that they added in Kobolds and Catacombs have so much value packed into them that they're finding their ways, like, almost like, just like card for card, like, current meta decks are the best decks in Wild, too. Like, the current standard decks, like, we're talking, like, Big Priest, Q Block, like, these cards with just, like, a little bit, like, a few wild cards thrown in.
Yeah, Sacred Mage is the same.
Yeah, exactly, that make it stronger. Like, the power creep is so noticeable. Which is interesting, and I definitely want to talk about like a little bit later on when we're getting into the new expansion announcement, because in the video of the announcement for the Year of the Raven, Ben Brode actually says that the classic set is still like far and away the most powerful set, and like I can see it in certain ways, but I feel like the power creep is getting really noticeable. But as far as Brawlsalium, I have not gotten into that yet, but I did get to see something really cool. It was just, I think it was earlier today. I'm getting my days mixed up here, but I believe it was today. And I was just watching Brian Kibler doing some streaming, and I just happened to catch a moment where he noticed that Ben Brode, who's on his friends list or whatever, was 11-2 in a Brawlsalium. Like, you know how it like notifies you? It's like you've started a game with 11 wins already. And so he spectated and casted Ben Brode's match with this random dude. Yeah. And Ben Brode was playing like the most Dookie Shed aggro paladin deck I've ever seen in my life. and I mean, it was a little sad because at the end he lost to you know, Fatigue Druid, essentially, with just like gain a bazillion million armor and never die. But it was pretty sweet, though, to like just see Kibler casting Ben Brode playing Hearthstone.
Yeah,
just like on the fly like that.
I didn't. I never thought of the idea that Ben Brode sits around playing Hearthstone, but I guess so, huh? Yeah. You know, he can't really be the lead dev.
Yeah, I guess he wanted to see how Brawlsalium was doing. So anyway, Brawlsalium's cool. I definitely do intend to do it. I think I'm going to do it with my Reno Mage. Which I've been continuing to tweak since I played a little bit of that on Tuesday when we decided we didn't like Fortnite and switched over to playing Hearthstone. I've been tweaking that and I feel pretty good about it. So yeah, basically other than that, no ladder today. Hopefully they get that up soon. But there's not much else new, like as far as like in-game stuff currently. But of course, we have a huge announcement to go over.
Huge.
It's gonna be huge. So let's go ahead and just check out what the Year of the Raven's gonna be all about in our news segment.
What's happening?
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Time is money, friend. Keep it quick, kid. I ain't got all day.
So first off, I've got, if you're watching it in some visual capacity, I have up here a little graphic of the the super cool like time wheel that they've rolled out since this whole Hearthstone Year's calendar thing was announced. And Just the cool. I really like the artwork and the aesthetic of Hearthstone. Like, I just want to appreciate that for a moment. With like, the whole, you can see that the mammoth is like right there next to the raven, and like I don't think that necessarily means that the next little silhouette on the clock, which looks to be some kind of griffin or something, there will
year
be
of the chicken.
Will be the next year, and then like the year after that's going to be the year of the raptor or whatever that thing is. But I think it's kind of cool that they have the mammoth there, like it's just passed. So
that's weird. It's I hadn't seen this image until now, and that's weird that they would put other icons, because like logically, if the mammoths before, then the ones that come after should be true. Like they, that. why would the astrolabe lie to me?
I don't know, but I'm not sure if we could find like a snapshot of what the astrolabe looked like when it was the year of the mammoth, and if the raven was the next icon. I'm not sure about that, but that would be interesting to check out. But yeah, it's just cool. Yeah. We've officially switched over. Well, not officially. We will switch over at the beginning of April. When the year of the Raven starts. It officially starts when the next expansion is released, and I say early April because that's usually when we see the first expansion of the year. Like, for example, Ungoro was released on April 6th of last year, so we can assume that it's going to be within the first week of April, probably whatever the first Thursday is of April.
Yeah.
Which, let's see, like, I'm on a desktop PC. I can just like go down here. The 5th, we might be seeing it on April 5th.
I think it would be hilarious if they released a joke next expansion on April 1st.
That would be pretty great.
And had everybody be like, "Oh God, the next one's out," and it's like something super goofy.
Yeah, it's like the unglued of.
Yeah,
unglued is another reference to Magic. We never do that here, but they made joke sets for Magic the Gathering, so that would be kind of fun. Or if they did release like some cool thing, but like somehow made it seem like it was the new expansion. I'm sure they'll do something, It's just like how far will they go with it? Yeah. That's the only question. So what's going to happen? What does the year of the Raven mean? Obviously, it's not the start of a new year. Well, that happened a couple of months ago, but it's the start of the new year for Hearthstone. So year of the Mammoth's ending, which means we're losing 3 expansions. As soon as that set comes out, these 3 expansions will become unplayable in Standard. Whispers of the Old Gods, One Night in Karazhan, and Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. They're going to go bye-bye, which also says bye-bye to the last ever adventure that's going to be in a Standard rotation, which is One Night in Karazhan. So that's pretty cool.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, by this time... by this time next year, we'll have a bigger card pool because there won't be an adventure mixed in. So that's also interesting to look forward to, how the meta is going to be different. So what else? What else is happening? Just to mention this really quickly, I think we're going to have another show sometime between now and the expansion release where we kind of focus on like what the sets rotating out mean. Like, what are the big cards we're losing? What are the archetypes that are probably never going to be seen in Standard again? So look forward to that coming up for one of our shows. But moving on to the next little image we have here is the teaser for the 3 expansions we'll be getting in 2018, which is something I really appreciate that they do, and it's just like super cool to me. It allows you to like kind of speculate at what you think you might be seeing, like as the themes to these card sets. And I mean, everyone was spot on, for example, with the Ice
Frozen
Crown,
Throne,
Knights of the Frozen Throne Ice Crown themed one. Everyone was saying that based off of the glyphs and like the frost magic-y looking color. So I think it'd be kind of fun just to take a couple minutes here looking at this and throw out our own possible ideas as to what these could mean. So
this is the first time I've seen these. And that first one, expansion 1, I got 2 thoughts for this one.
Okay, shoot.
It kind of looks like vines or roots.
Yeah.
And it's kind of greenish, so possible Emerald Dream.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you.
The other thing, though, is in the center, in the gem, the green gem, it looks very spacey.
Okay.
And it kind of reminds me of the aesthetic of there was that optional mega boss in Ulduar called like Algalon or something.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if it's going to be some kind of celestial or like Ulduar based, or even, well, no, we already got Yogg Saron, so it wouldn't be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Emerald Dream or something like Ulduar maybe related. But those are definitely like vines, like plants.
Yes, so definitely. I mean, those are roots. It's definitely tree-like. I definitely get the sense, like my first thought, and other people's too, I have done a little bit of just like, oh, is there any speculation going on? And a lot of what I've seen is people guessing Emerald Dream, which was also my first inclination looking at this, because the Emerald Dream in WoW, if you go to Old World and visit like the locations where there are portals to the Emerald Dream, they are, you know, it is a green portal. I mean, it's not that exact color green or anything like that, but it could definitely look like that because the portal itself is even kind of wreathed in like, you know, roots and plant life and stuff like that. And, you know, it's all those like it's archdruids and nature and stuff that all interact with the Emerald Dream. So I feel like that could be something, and it would be really cool, you know.
I feel like the problem with that is the same reason that they never made Emerald Dream a WoW expansion and never made that archdruid hero class or whatever, because it's like this is only focusing on druid.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like how do you get paladin cards out of Emerald Dream? You know?
I'm going to jump ahead one frame. We'll come back to this, but I am going to jump ahead for one thing, though. One thing that could make a lot of sense here is the new druid hero that we're getting when the new expansion hits, which is Lunara. Druid-themed expansion, druid nature-themed thing, new druid hero. Like, you know, another sort of, I don't know, like, what you call these creatures. I can never remember. They're like centaurs with horns.
Oh, keep talking. I'll remember.
Okay, but I think that would be. I mean, it would make a lot of sense. You know, I mean, if for no other reason, like why we're finally getting a new druid hero is that it's like a kind of druidic, nature-y sort of expansion.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
I mean,
that puts me at like 75% sure that it's the Emerald Dream.
It bumps it up for me too. And like, you know, you could say the same thing about like Knights of the Frozen Throne is just a DK expansion or whatever, but they like found ways to work the lore into applying to everyone and like all the classes. So
I think they're dryads. Yeah, they're dryads.
Dryads. That's them. Yeah. They look a lot like archdruids because they get the horns and they become centaurs, you know.
Yeah, but they're like deer.
Malfurion.
They're like half deer people. Yeah.
It's just kind of funny how much like archdruids they actually are because they're centaur-like, just like archdruids become. So.
Well, I guess archdruids are deer too because they have like the antlers.
Yeah.
They're like big-ass bucks.
Yeah.
Maybe the females are the dryad. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway. So what about Expansion 2?
Expansion 2, I get super Dalaran vibes from this.
I was going to say Dalaran.
Yeah, I mean, that exact color of magic is associated with the Kirin Tor, specifically.
Yep.
And
Violet Eye.
Yeah, the Violet Eye. I mean, that looks almost exactly like the Violet Eye, to be perfectly honest. I'd be surprised if it wasn't something having to do with the Kirin Tor, with Dalaran, or with, you know, that whole ilk. You could mages. You could slap the eye symbol in there, and it would that would be it. What was the name of their prison? Remember, it was a dungeon.
Oh, that one that was just only bosses.
The Violet Hold? Was it Violet Hold?
Violet Hold or Violet Citadel? What it was? Yeah. It was one of those two.
It could even be something more narrowly focusing on something like that. You know, like I don't know.
Yeah, you could
Prison Break from Violet Hold.
You could slap this. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
You could slap that right in the center. It's like, boom, Violet Eye. Like, yeah. So
definitely looks like that sort of like arcane missile-y type magic, purpley magic. Khadgar, you know, like all those big mages and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, maybe we'll even see some like reworking of Medivh because hey, what's Medivh's big thing is ravens, right? So.
Oh yeah, like he's like the Raven guy in WoW.
They call him the Raven Mage. Yeah, he wears a Raven cloak. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So definitely feeling that.
I'll be surprised if that's not Violet Eye or something.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And then I'm wondering what you think of expansion number 3 teaser, because it did make me think of something right away. I'm wondering.
I get troll vibes.
Yes, definitely troll. That like almost looks exactly like the shields that they're always pictured having.
Yeah.
They're like, you know, kind of that green color. And it's got like that war paint of like the teeth kind of at the bottom, which is something that's super troll. It even kind of looks like a troll face almost, just in a little like abstract kind of way.
Yeah, those colors are very much troll colors. Like trolls usually have bluish greenish skin and like some bright like red or blue hair or something. I think it reminds me of Zulamon.
Yeah,
that raid more than anything.
Zulamon.
Which I'm trying to find a picture of to see if I'm remembering correctly, but the pictures are not of anything useful, so never mind. But either troll or I kind of get ogre vibes from it too.
Ogre?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like with the sloppiness of it.
Well, yeah, that's true, but that's like kind of all Horde races aesthetic, right? Like I even kind of get like from the actual cluster of red around the eye, I get Orgrimmar orc vibes from that.
Yeah,
it's a very like Orgrimmar color.
I think we're looking at a tribal sort of theme, regardless of what it is. I think
definitely it seems very Horde-like to me. You know, it's not like the Alliance is always like silvers and blues and like everything's really like clean cut and everything. This is all very like, you know, Horde like rusty, freaking like just, you know, battle worn stuff. So.
You know, Electman brings up a good point. Does this mean that a troll hero will launch alongside that expansion?
I would love that. I wish that there was some sort of logic to the releasing of heroes and that it happened more often.
Well, if we're getting a druid hero for the Emerald Dream, then maybe we'd get a troll hero for that one, if it is troll. And then, you know, we'll get our 9th mage hero when the Violet Eye comes out.
Yeah. I just don't understand their whole logic for this. It's like, how did we ever end up with a class that had 3 alternate heroes before one class had any?
Yeah,
like,
it's
what are we doing?
Bizarre.
Yeah. I don't get it. But I would love to see a new hero per expansion. Like, why can't that just be the thing?
Yeah, seriously.
Then you've got, like, I mean, at minimum 1 hero per expansion, because that only gives you 1 new hero for each class every 3 years. Like, that's so long. Like, they need to start snapping it up. Like, people buy that stuff. Like, how many Medivhs do you see, you know? Like, they're just, like, sitting on money that they don't want for some reason.
Yeah. There's, like, hire an artist, you know. You probably have to pay him, like, $500 max. Hire a voice actor, and then boom, sell thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't get it. It's not very Blizzard, right?
Yeah. I'm even surprised. Like, this is a little off topic, but I'm actually legitimately surprised that Lady Liadrin even happened. Like,
right.
That was like my dream paladin hero. I was like the only blood elf paladin that they could reasonably use is Liadrin, and I just don't think she's a big enough deal in the Warcraft universe. And then it happened, and I was like, oh shit.
Right. Well, all right, so moving on from the teaser images there, hopefully I think we're at least on to something there with those guesses. It usually ends up falling close. It's just one more time that image of Lunara. I think it's really cool finally to get another druid hero. Like, getting sick of Malfurion.
Yeah, and I'll definitely use her over Malfurion.
Yeah, definitely. You know,
I'll give a shit about a night elf.
Right. So looking forward to that. And then finally, well, not finally, but one of the other biggest things about the expansion coming out is that not only will we be losing, if I can talk, those 3 expansions we already mentioned, we're losing 3 more cards on top of that from the classic set that are adding themselves to what they call the Hall of Fame, which we saw this, of course, last year when they added Ragnaros, Sylvanas, Azure Drake, Ice Lance, and maybe 2 others or so, I can't remember them all, to the Hall of Fame. We're only getting 3 this time, which is a little surprising to me. And I think mostly, like, they're only impacting very specific certain archetypes, which aren't even like necessarily that rampant, at least currently. So the 3 cards that are entering Hall of Fame are Ice Block, Coldlight Oracle, and Molten Giant. And Molten Giant, it's important to note also, is not just rotating to the Hall of Fame. He's actually reverting to pre-nerf power level, which is he's 20 mana and costs 1 less for each damage your hero has taken rather than 25, which is what they nerfed him to. So Molten Giant, I feel like we can get this discussion out of the way quickly, is purely just a rotation that's happening for Wild, and so that handlock can become a thing again, because that's something that players have been very vocal about, an archetype that they've been missing is the classic handlock, which it was very important to have the discounted Molten Giant to play that deck.
Handlock seems like child's play compared to the crap we're seeing now. Like,
just imagine the crap we're seeing now with old school Molten Giant in it. Like,
yeah, I'd rather see handlock than Q-block any day.
Right.
So yeah, like handlock I felt like was oppressive, and I hated that deck, but like that seems so innocuous compared to how things have gotten.
The problem is they just add those giants to that deck.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Warlock is super oppressive on the Wild ladder already, and like I could get into a rant about Wild, just my experience in the last couple of weeks playing Wild for way too long, but just very briefly, I'll say it is what they call Giants Lock and the Cube Lock variant of that are the 2 best decks in Wild currently. Yeah. And they're not doing anything to fix the exploit that Naga Sea Witch creates with these giants. They're making Molten Giant even more playable with Naga Sea Witch. If you've taken 5 damage and you throw out Naga Sea Witch, you get free 8/8s with Molten Giants.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, I know. As if it's not exploitable enough already with the other giants like Clockwork and Sea and all that. I don't understand why they want to allow Giants decks to run rampant, literally stomping all over Wild. It's kind of strange to me. Like, I think it's easily fixed enough, too, by just adding some sort of caveat onto these Giant cards that say cannot be discounted in any other way, or like cannot have their mana cost changed in any other way, like however you have to word it to make the interaction with Naga Sea Witch no longer work. Because I mean, those decks aren't unbeatable, but like you need to draw very specific things very early on and be playing a deck that has the ability to deal with those giants, or you just cannot play that deck in Wild Ladder. And I don't think that's okay. You know?
No. Someone at Blizzard just has a mad Warlock boner.
I mean, Warlock is the one who can exploit it the most, but I mean, you know, Hunters can do it, even Rogues can, with the ability to draw minions off of, you know, Minstrel and stuff. It's just a highly exploitable thing, and it just needs to be fixed. Anyway, moving on. Molten Giant, who cares? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Ice Block. This is huge. This is insane. Yes. I mean, like, this is probably the biggest change, like, to me,
I think
just
so.
because it's a little stronger in general and sees more play than Coldlight Oracle. Mage decks, there's always been a mage deck around that's using Ice Block, just since the beginning of time, pretty much, in this game. You know, ignore damage, take an extra turn. You know, who needs open the way gate when you have Ice Block? I don't know. It's a huge change for mage. It's something like if you were gonna make a control mage deck, you could always just start with Ice Block, right? It's just like a great foundation.
Oh yeah.
Now it's kind of pushing mage out of like a ages-long comfort zone.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think when they do this Hall of Fame thing, they're trying to crack down on like auto includes.
Yeah.
And but like there's never going to be a mage deck without Frostbolt. There's never going to be a mage deck without Fireball. Like there are certain cards that are always, no matter what, still going to be in like almost every class's deck. So I guess I don't know. I mean, Ice Block. I always felt like. I mean, you know, I hate this card.
Yeah, of course.
I've raged and raged. Like this card, this card tilts me. Like it's a salt mine when I lose because of an Ice Block. Because I think the fact that you can just be like, oh, instead of dying, I don't. Like the rogue secret, like you get the one instance of damage and then you're immune that turn.
Yeah, well, that secret's terrible.
Yeah, it's not a killing blow. So, but also like, I don't actually think Ice Block is like super oppressive. Like, I'm glad to see it go. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe they just wanted to clean out some of those auto include types of cards. But that really surprised me to see Ice Block being rotated to Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it might be just like because at this current moment, like even with all of the massive AoE removal and Frostlich Jaina, which is like this value-packed powerhouse, like Control Mage just doesn't have a spot in the meta currently. It's too inconsistent. You just find yourself matching up against decks that are easier to play, easier to hit your curve, and just in general better than what you're trying to do, which is much more difficult and subject to, sequencing and draw more so. So maybe it's just because like we're not seeing a lot of ice blocks. Like the Tempo Secret Mage doesn't even use it. You know, they use all the secrets that help you actually stay on board and like disrupt your opponent's turns. So maybe that's why it's just like it's kind of like fallen out of like the collective consciousness. But it is always there, like lurking around, and when decks like Freeze Mage and Reno Mage and stuff have been big, Ice Block has probably been a little oppressive.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's just like it's always the icing on the cake.
It's the icing on top of the Ice Mage.
Or next expansion, Mage is getting something to replace it.
Yeah,
they're getting Diamond Block.
Diamond Block.
And it's just for the rest of the game you're immune.
Sounds good. I'll take it.
Yeah.
No. I mean, that's always a consideration too, is like you gotta wonder what cards they're creating that they were like, oh, this would be a really cool card to include in Hearthstone, but it is too exploitable with this card, and maybe Ice Block is one of those cards. They're like, we want to give Mage this really powerful, new, fun tool, but Ice Block makes it totally exploitable, so let's just get Ice Block out of Standard. And maybe it's the same thing with the next card, which is Coldlight Oracle. Coldlight Oracle is actually seeing some play on Standard Ladder right now in pretty much specifically Kingsbane Rogue decks, which are pretty decently well positioned like against a lot of these like full hand heavy value decks, because they pack a lot of removal like Twisting Nethers and all that stuff, and they keep their hands big. And with Kingsbane Rogue, you're dealing all your damage with a weapon. You can't be fatigued because of the weird interaction between the Rogue Death Knight and Kingsbane, which allows you to create infinite Kingsbanes. And then you're burning their cards by overfilling their hand with Coldlight Oracle, which of course is why Coldlight Oracle is used. That's like its function essentially.
Yeah.
It's seen a little bit of play in like Freeze Mage decks in the past, or whatever decks that just really need to cycle and get a handful of specific things that just kill you. But I don't know. What do you think about this? Like, what do you think their thought process is on rotating Coldlight?
I think that they're saying we don't want mill to be a thing in Standard. Because I think the application of Coldlight Oracle and something like Kingsbane Rogue is I feel like that's like a tasteful application of this card. You know, it's not mill shenanigans. It's like, this works well in this deck because my opponents are doing this and I can burn their cards and I need to draw cards. Right. So like, I feel like Coldlight Oracle in that situation is like, you're not cheesing anyone. This is actually just a smart like tech card.
Yeah, I mean, they do abuse it though. Like it does get to a level of cheese, like when they're running Shadow Steps to pretty much hit Coldlight to like continue to burn your cards. Like I've basically I was trying like I was saying, I ended up stopping because I don't feel like it's strong enough, but I was trying like a Frostlich Jaina control on Standard Ladder, and when I matched up against Kingsbane Rogues, that's what they would do to me. I would lose in fatigue every game because they know that's how they get around ice blocks. So they just save their cold lights, and it is very exploitable against certain things like that. Yeah.
Like, okay, it's you can make assumptions based on these Hall of Fame bans or whatever you want to call it. You know, Blizzard doesn't like full immunity. Blizzard doesn't like mill. Blizzard doesn't like, you know, hand lock, whatever. But these things are just going to wild. They're not. Yeah. They're not gone. So
no, they're not gone.
The only conclusion that I can draw from this is that they want wild to be fucking wild. They want just these crazy off the wall decks to just be like doing all kinds of insane stuff to each other, and they want like I don't know. I mean, maybe their plans for wild are just to make it crazy.
No, it definitely. And also another thing to mention just on that same point is that these cards being exclusive to wild make certain archetypes only playable in wild, of course.
Exactly.
So like control mages that can hide behind ice block and mill decks and stuff just become a wild thing. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. But I do think, like, I mean, it's all well and good to promote, like, hilariously overpowered decks to, like, run rampant in wild or whatever. I still think that, like, the certain exploitations, mainly the giant one, like, where you're forcing druids to have to run poison seeds in all of their decks just to have a 4-mana clear for giants. And like, no one that can clear giants early can like, play. That's where I think they need to take a look at what's happening.
I agree.
As far as the craziness that goes on.
It seems like maybe that this is a move to make wild very diverse with like lots of crazy archetypes. Like I was saying, just to make it like you never know what you're going to get, which I think is cool. If wild was like standard where you've got, you know, 3 or 4 different archetypes just kind of dominating everything. Yeah. I feel like why would you even play wild in that
exactly
at that point?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're probably just trying to, especially with the Molten Giant thing. I don't know. They're trying to make it so that there are options for people to counter. Everything can be countered by something.
Yeah. Yep. No, it makes sense. It's kind of cool. Like, it's cool to you know, it's hard to let certain things go, especially just like, you know, I just kind of warmed up to playing Control Mage, and like there goes like the quintessential Control Mage card. But like, you know, it's bittersweet. Like we'll get some new tools and everything, and it is cool to see old things kind of moving into another corner. You know, they're not gone, but there are a lot of players who can't afford to play wild because it's so ridiculous to think about building a wild collection at this point, especially if you're just relatively new. So still very cool. So what else is there? Anything else about the Year of the Raven that we haven't mentioned? I don't know, maybe
it's a big one.
What? I can't, I'm not thinking of anything.
Oh, you're not going to believe when I tell you what they're doing.
Oh, snap.
Tournament mode.
Oh, snap, dog. It's finally here. Tournament mode.
Doesn't even seem real.
I know. I really didn't think we were ever going to get it, but it is official. They're adding a new button. Well, maybe. I don't know where the button's going to go. Like, somebody is over there sweating where the button's going to go. But, like, we are going to get a tournament mode. They're going to allow, basically, like, you know, fireside gatherings and other sorts of tournament organizers, like possibly Salty Dog tournaments or whatever, to be organized, and, like, deck validation and all of that stuff that goes into it that you used to have to use a third-party application, usually Battlefy or whatever, to organize. It's just going to be built into the client. Matchmaking, like all of that stuff, it's gonna be sweet. Finally,
beautiful.
Like, for a game that an esports game that has like a huge esports presence, finally having a tournament mode built into its client. That is good.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Like, the laziness will reach new levels. You know.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
I mean, what do you know what details they've given on it? Like, how exactly it's going to work or be implemented?
Let's take a look. Like, let's just go word for word. You know, like, rather than word of mouth or whatever. I'm just gonna do a quick search here. So, like, see all the details.
Because if it's like I can join a tournament from the comfort of my home, that's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. You know, I don't remember being able to gather whether or not that's going to be a thing just from what I read from what they've said so far. So we'll see, though. I want to just find this really quickly. But it is nonetheless, like, very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. It never made sense to me that there wasn't integration for that kind of thing in the client.
It was so clunky to like go to a fireside gathering and like have to deal with like the weird stuff that you have to do. So, all right, let's just go like exactly what they said. He said, "We're working on a feature that will help you run a Hearthstone tournament from your own home or a fireside gathering." So there you go. You can do it from home.
Very cool.
I don't know if fireside. What I was mentioning before is like I don't know if like say Tavern Hero qualifiers, which are something that you used to always have to go to the location of the fireside gathering and participate in. I don't know if now you're going to be able to do stuff like that at home, or if they're going to use like the fireside gathering location services to like make sure you're there or whatever. Like I'm not sure about that sort of stuff. But it also says you'll be able to create a custom tournament and invite your friends, all from within the Hearthstone game client. That's really, really exciting too, because that's in a way like a way to play with your friends. Like even though it's still competitive, like you can just like all your friends that play Hearthstone, it's like let's just have a tournament with each other.
Yeah, very cool.
To start, the feature will include matchmaking and checking decks, but will continue to add new features and functionality over time. So that's cool too. They're planning on expanding on it. We're planning to launch in-game tournaments as a beta around the middle of the year, which is very cool. So, like you'll be able to just be like, wow, there's a Hearthstone tournament going on, and I can click a button and be a part of it. Like, that's not something that you've been able to do in the past. There's a lot of potential to explore this as we expand on this very early version of in-game tournaments, and your feedback is helpful, of course, and all that stuff. Like, you know, it's an evolving thing, so... Very exciting. That's probably I don't know. Is that the thing that you're most stoked about? Because I think it is for me.
Oh gosh, it's hard to say I'm more stoked about anything than Ice Block leaving Standard. But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, it's big news for sure. Like I've always wanted to get into like what they call those open tournaments and stuff, and I've looked into it, and I'm probably honestly just like too lazy to sit down and figure it out. But like it was a turnoff for me. Just like okay, I have to go here, and then you're gonna email me, and then I have to screen cap my decks and send them to you via an email, and then you have to look and make sure I have no other decks like I don't know. It was just like I was just like no, I don't want to do this. Like
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. The laziness will prevail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, you gotta screenshot your victory, and, like, like, did your opponent report the correct, like, you know, win, like, that they lost? Like, there was so much, like, just horror stories of, like, how open tournaments used to be organized, so.
Yeah, no, this sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's super good. Super good. Very, very good for the future of competitive Hearthstone. Like he says in the video, who will be next year's Hearthstone Championship, you know, winner. Could it be you? So
yeah, could it be?
Now actually maybe it could be.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, makes it just feel more accessible and everything. So I think other than just one last quick thing, for anyone who didn't happen to catch this part, there is going to be more information about the Year of the Raven announced tomorrow, or at least maybe some, but there's at least going to be a Q&A. It's at 11 a.m. Pacific time on the official Hearthstone Twitch. So they're going to be sitting down. It's going to be Ben Brode and Yang Wu, and they're going to do a Q&A. And who knows, like, if they'll drop any more hints, or maybe... I don't think we'll get a card or anything, unfortunately, because they haven't even announced the expansion. So.
Yeah, that is tomorrow, or today, if you're listening to the recording or watching the VOD.
Yes.
So, Probably. Well, it'd be cool though. A new card would be cool.
Maybe they'll announce the name of the expansion. Like, who knows? I mean, we are just a little bit outside of about a month away from the expansion release, so it wouldn't be too early, in my opinion, to go ahead and announce it. So,
I'm seeing something from our viewer Nepeta. I don't know if you can confirm this or not, but they're saying quests will be changed to no more 40 gold quests. Have you heard anything about that?
That is also true. I did miss that point, so thanks for bringing that up. Yes, 40 gold quests are just being turned into 50 gold quests. I don't think that that all quests are being shifted up by 10 gold. Like, 50 gold quests are now 60 and 60s or 70s. No, it's just 40 gold quests are just gone now.
So now you drop your 50 every day.
Yes. Now you drop 150 every day and try to get 60s. It's not going to be very likely, but still, it's the way to min-max it. I think it's probably just because they knew people were doing that anyway. And it's a little annoying when you get a 40 gold quest that you have to complete just if you want to play the game. Like play Minions, and you're like, well, I'm going to do that if I'm playing Hearthstone. So I'm glad that they took that away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Just a little bit, hey, just like a tad more influx of gold into the community.
Yeah, can't complain. Can't complain about that.
So that's good news too. But as far as that's pretty much all the information on You're the Raven so far.
But that's a lot. That was a lot. That was a lot of news.
Yeah, definitely.
Big old news dump there.
It's good. It's good to finally hear something. There was a bit of a doldrum there for a few weeks of no real news or anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So next, I guess we can move on to some Q&A.
Yeah.
We asked you guys on Twitter. You can follow us at Salty Dog Podcast if you want to keep up to date with announcements and making sure we're going to have the show on time and things like that. That's where you submit your card creation challenges to us. That's where you can ask us questions that we'll answer on the show. So the first one is from Aoricos, who asks, do you ever think they will make a new resource like mana? And I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I think they've already got cards that spend health. They've already got cards that spend armor, kind of. So I think what they might do is use existing things as resources.
Yeah.
Like health, armor, maybe even cards. Like, discard a card to pay for something. But I don't think they'll ever be like stamina, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I don't know. I guess, partially just to play devil's advocate, but also just because I do kind of feel like this. Basically, a card game's longevity is directly tied into their ability to innovate, right? Because if we're still playing this same game 2-3 years down the line, like, people are going to start getting sick of it, right? So, like, we need these new cards, like quests, like hero cards, like all these like different card types that end up coming in each expansion. And there's but the framework of a card game, especially one that they try to make as simple as Hearthstone, is very limiting as far as design space for cards. So I think eventually they're going to start having to reach out to almost anywhere for new ideas, like for new interactions to bring into the game. So I would not rule out a new resource, like something very simply designed, of course, nothing that would get too crazy, but something that pops into mind just from World of Warcraft is something that Shadow Priests were given at one point, was something they called Shadow Orbs. And it was a super simple thing. Some spells generated Shadow Orbs, some spells spent Shadow Orbs. And Shadow Orbs, the more that you had when you used the spells that consumed them, the more damage they dealt, blah, blah, blah. Super easy.
Yeah. This is, I actually, now that you mention it, because as soon as you started talking about this, I thought of Holy Power,
right? Which
was the Paladin version of Shadow Orbs, basically.
Right? Yeah.
So we're so pigeonholed into our classes. But anyway, yeah. So Rogue actually probably is the closest to having that already with combo, because Rogue in Warcraft had combo points, And the more combo points you had when you unleashed a finisher, like Eviscerate, the more Eviscerate would do. So Rogue already kind of has that, except really there's only one combo point. Except in the case of things like Van Cleef, where technically as many combo points as you can stack up will affect him. But
yeah.
So, you know, a Paladin card that generates Holy Power, and then another one, and then another one, and then you have a max of 3, and then when you play some card, it consumes your Holy Power to have a bonus effect. So I could see it being something like that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, they actually almost did it in Meatries of Gadgetzan, right? I don't know if they ever officially came out and said how it was going to work, but there was something that they were going to use called red mana crystals. So it's something that they have already like thought about using, and I think it's something that they will sometime come back to. Like I would bet like a modest amount of money on that.
Yeah. As an extension of that question, Electman asks, if they aren't tracked by a different resource bar, do you think they would take up space in your hand? And I actually feel like it would be something that appears on your portrait.
Yeah, like secrets or something like around.
That's how it worked in WoW. Like the Holy Power was like a little bar that hung under my portrait, you know?
Yeah.
And the Rogue combo points are little balls, kind of like little secrets that appeared around your portrait if you were a rogue. So I feel like it would probably be integrated in just like a visual way, but not in like a way that affects your hand or your board.
Yeah, that's how I was envisioning it too. Like they could even use like some different part of the board to like keep track of whatever, you know, mana sparks or whatever they're going to be called, like you know, and how you use them or whatever. But I would like to see it. Like I don't want to see them, you know, pigeonhole themselves into like we can't do any, like we can't do that, we can't do this, we can't do that. Like they already say enough of that. Like I'd like to see them, you know, say more of what we can do. yeah, it might make the game a little more complicated. Yeah,
which I know that's a, you know, it's a caveat for them.
That's a trigger word for Hearthstone. Yeah. But
confusing.
Confusing. Do you remember when having 18 deck slots was going to be too confusing?
That really steamed me off.
I was so mad.
Like, what?
It's like, wait, who thinks that having 9 more deck slots would be confusing? It's like raise your hands. Like, okay, good. Now we know who you are. Like, God, no one thinks that's.
I have a question for you. Are you familiar with the number 9? Oh, you are? Cool. Well, listen. Are you familiar with the number 18? Oh, you're not? Well, then you probably shouldn't play Hearthstone. Because if you know what 18 is, you can understand having 18 of something.
Oh my god, that was so funny. Oh man.
So anyway,
moving on. Next question. I got this one from Dougie. What are each of your top 3-ish, more or less, cards that you're excited to see leave the standard format, including the new Hall of Fame cards? Okay, well, we already know what's, like, cemented at the top of your list there. Ice Block.
Well, he said excluding Hall of Fame.
He said, I thought it said including. Yeah. Sorry, I probably even said excluding. My brain was like, including. Okay, so excluding Hall of Fame. Basically
Kazakus.
Just like pick 3 different Jade Golem generating cards in any order and just put them there, and that's mine.
I'm gonna say Kazakus.
Okay.
N'Zoth.
Oh, come on, that's my boy.
It's just it's too much, man. it's so abusable.
It really is.
And if you have any, go ahead. I'll try to think of another.
I mean, I'm kind of not kidding. Like, honestly, I think that Jade Idol is complete garbage, and like it shouldn't be that easy for a deck to be unfatigable, and like to just be super easily exploitable with Gadgetzan Auctioneer and just like all the stuff that it's easily exploitable with. Like Jade Idol, I hate it. You know, like talking about like mill decks. Like, mill decks will almost never be able to have a decent position as long as Jade Idol's around. like, because if you match up against a deck with Jade Idols, you just lose immediately because you can't fatigue your opponent.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know.
I think they should just get rid of fatigue, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they did kind of fix it with the Geist or whatever, but then you've got to have a Geist in your mill deck just in case you match against a Druid that has a Jade Idol. Like,
yeah.
I
could respect. So you're hating on the what is that Gadgets and gang, the Jade Lotus's golems.
Yeah,
you're hating on Lotus golems. I'm hating on the Cabal.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're kind of coming from like our roots here or whatever. But like honestly, if I hear like a Jade Golem getting made like it's like 60 years from now, it'll be too soon. Like I never want to hear one of those stupid things again. Like, no, go away forever.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
I'm trying to think of like I don't know. I mean, there's Dragonfire Potion, you know.
Oh,
like...
fuck that! All right, that's my third one.
I know what gets you tilted.
Yeah.
Draconid Operative.
Yeah, that's a cool card.
Yeah.
I like that card.
It is a pretty sick card.
This is tempo. I like tempo.
I wonder what the new overpowered priest cards are going to be to allow priest to continue to be playable.
Yeah, right.
But no, I mean they still have big priest.
I didn't mean to just mention priest things, but none of the things that are making warlock cancerous right now are rotating out.
Right.
So
yeah,
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So I'll grab. Well, actually, this next question we kind of answered already from Mika. What do you think the new expansions in Year of the Raven are going to be? Oh, yeah.
I guess just for a quick recap of that, though, Emerald Dream, Kirin Tor / Dalaran / Violet Eye for the second one. And for the third one, we're thinking something specifically troll-themed or potentially just like tribal / horde, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barnes. Last question. From the last question, Barnes. He can leave.
Oh, okay. Barnes, yeah. At least Big Priest is taking a little bit of a hit with that, so.
Yeah. So. And then we have one more question.
No, actually, one more. Yep, you're good.
From Hunter Smith. Cool name. It's like if me and Nate had a baby.
That's right. I'm pretty sure I've read that fan fiction.
Yeah, me too. If you could, this is totally not Hearthstone related, but we will answer any question within reason. If you could have one shiny Pokemon that you don't have, which one would it be and why?
Well, that's a hard question for me because I never got a shiny Pokemon, at least one that I cared about. I think I got like 2, and they were like the dumbest things ever in like my history of the game. Honestly, I would just have to go with Greninja because I mean I know it's like a pleb answer or whatever, but like.
That's a great shiny, though.
Exactly. Like, not only is he one of my favorites of favorite Pokemon in like the entire series of Pokemon, but his shiny is black, and like, how could you not think that's awesome? Like, he's so cool.
Well, my favorite shiny in this, if you've seen the video, you know, is shiny Metagross. You know what Metagross looks like, right?
Is he like the metal thing?
He's the blue 4-legged computer with the X on his face.
Oh yeah.
So he's blue, and the big metal X on his face is like kind of chrome.
Okay.
But his shiny, he is like all chrome, and his X is gold.
Wow.
And he just looks cool. So, and I'm actually I'm kind of obsessed with Metagross right now because I can already get one in Pokemon Go, but I'm waiting to have enough candy to be able to power it up really high. So I'm on kind of like a little Metagross love affair. So
nice.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my answer.
Nice. Makes sense. I like it. I mean, it's all about what they look like, right?
Absolutely.
It's what shiny is about. So, okay. I think that's the end of our Q&A and the beginning of our card challenge segment. So, Dookie posed the last one, so you want to run us through what your challenge was and what the challenge actually is, like what the segment is.
So, this is our card creation challenge segment. Every week we pose a challenge for our audience to design Hearthstone cards based on our prompt and then submit them to us. Normally, Twitter is the easiest way to do that. I would say it's probably the only way to do that.
Yeah, pretty much, because we used to say you could email it to us, but we never check the email, so...
Yeah, so if you want to submit a card, you better follow us on Twitter at Salty Dog Podcast. And the best way to do it is to go to a site called hearthcards.net, and they let you make whatever you want. There's even, like, custom classes, which we're going to see some of today.
Mm-hmm.
So the prompt today was to design a new hero / class, if you want to make it a class.
Mm-hmm.
So people made a portrait, they made a hero power. That's the minimum requirement. Mm-hmm. And then they were allowed to make up to 3 more cards to go with that hero or class. So we had a lot of really good ones today. And it was really hard to cut some of the choices, but we pick our 6 favorites. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't make it, just know that there were a lot of really good ones. So don't feel too bad. But we could only pick 6.
Well, let's go ahead and start it off and take a look at what we got.
Prepare yourself for the ultimate test.
All right, up first from Tachyon Railgun, we have Iris Illisival. I don't know how to say that. I'm gonna go with Illisival. Which really cooking, cool looking. That's a night elf, yeah. So it kind of looks like is that a night elf?
No, I think that's a blood elf. Look how hot she is.
But look at the hair though, and the skin. She's blue and she's got like green hair.
Yeah, but like the lighting, it's like kind of dark in there. It's like the dress.
She's some kind of WoW elf. And
I feel like her features are more blood elven.
Right, but is that just like night elf fan art to make them look hotter than they are? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Anyway,
that is kind of beside the point.
Definitely.
So let's take a look. The hero power, like, obviously is kind of what's gonna like give like the class its identity. So this is called this has a hero power called Mind Breach. It's 2 mana to permanently reveal an unrevealed card in your opponent's hand. That is very interesting.
Isn't it? It doesn't generate any tempo or value, but it gives you knowledge.
Knowledge is power.
That's right.
So how would cards that were made for this class like capitalize on this? Let's take a look. So the first one is an epic spell called Death Urge. It's 6 mana, and it does all enemy characters deal damage to themselves equal to their attack. Okay, so that is just Light Bomb squared, because Light Bomb does the same thing, but it also hits your minions.
And Light Bomb's 6 mana?
Yeah, so it's strictly a better Light Bomb.
Yeah, this should probably be costed a little more, but otherwise I definitely see the application in a kind of control sort of archetype class.
Yeah, it's just better than Light Bomb, and Light Bomb was already a super good board wipe, so I mean it could just be Light Bomb in another class. It's not like that's never happened. Just look at Holy Smite and Arcane Shot. Cards do get duplicated. Alright, moving on to the next one. This is also an epic spell. It's 4 mana for a secret, so these would be the highest cost secrets in the game. So they better be pretty powerful. It's called Dominate. After your opponent plays a minion, gain control of it until the start of their next turn. So they play something, they give it to you. Obvious that's super high roll, because if you take control of something insane, then and if you can murder it or return it to your hand or something, that's pretty nuts. Or
it's a very powerful secret. Like it doesn't kill it forever or anything, or doesn't steal it forever. So things like Potion of Polymorph and Explosive Runes that can just eliminate something, that's great, but taking something from your opponent is -1 card advantage, +1 card advantage to you.
Yes.
So and then of course nothing in Hearthstone lives more than a turn, so you get to abuse that thing however you want.
Yeah, including making a trade that kills it, and it was even more value for you, because like it's 1 card for 2 if you make a trade that's like an even trade and they both die or something.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think it's it's very, very priesty. So far, this is a very priesty class.
Yes, definitely. I'm getting the same vibe as well, especially with like the revealing of cards. That's something that only priestess really had access to. And the last one is a rare minion called Illithid Infiltrator. It's 2 mana for a 2/3. It's got the tribe Illithid, and it says Battle Cry. Look at the top card of your opponent's deck. You may choose to shuffle their deck. Okay, so this is getting into definitely something that's super huge in Magic, is the ability to like reshuffle your opponent's deck if you don't like what they're gonna draw.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting sort of a blue Magic vibe mixed with Priest from Hearthstone. So definitely very control and just trying to prevent your opponent from doing good things is what you're really going for.
Yeah. I like how knowledge based this is. You know, 2 mana, 2/3. It's not generating any additional value. I mean, a 2 mana, 2/3 is not bad, but it's pretty average. It's not generating any actual onboard advantage or even in hand advantage. But it is giving you knowledge. You say, oh, I know what they're going to draw, so I can let them draw it, and then I know it's in their hand. Or I'm going to make them shuffle their deck, and they don't get that thing.
Yeah, because it's like the perfect thing, right? Because they're about to draw the best thing they could draw.
Right, exactly.
You don't want that. So, yeah, no, I really like it. I think that Hearthstone could definitely benefit from more cards like this being added to current classes. Like, I think Priest and Rogue are definitely the best candidates for cards like this. I'd like to see
almost
more
like that reminds me of Gnome Feratu, actually.
Yeah. Just
burns the top card, so.
Right. All right. That was very cool. I like that.
Yeah,
moving on,
definitely.
we have a little bit less of a serious thing, but still very cool nonetheless. We have Scrub the Decrubber from Kuyoya.
Scrub the Decrubber.
So the hero power is called Power Scrubbing. It's 2 mana to permanently reduce an enemy minion's health by 1 or increase a friendly minion's attack by 1. Well, to me, that's almost straight up better than the mage power. I mean, it can't ping face, but it's...
Yeah, it probably overall is better than the mage hero power.
Well, because you can still get that extra damage. It's just attached to a minion, which is also permanent. So it's better. It's like a better investment.
Yeah. So that might be a little on the overpowered side, but I still like the idea of it.
Right.
Reduce, because like, you know, then the priest can't just heal the thing back up.
Yeah.
It actually has a less health now. So
yeah, I think it would be balanced if you just took away the ability to increase the minion's attack, because it's a trade-off at that point then to where it's a better ping than mage has against minions, but you can't hit face with it. So your opponent could sit there at 1 and you couldn't kill them, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's take a look at the cards that the class would have. This is a legendary minion called Believer in the Heart. It's a 3 mana 3/3 with the tribe Decrub that battle cries to draw a card. If it's a spell, deal 3 damage. Otherwise, deal 1 damage. And it has taunt. So, wow, I actually really like that. You always get to draw a card, which is probably what makes it... But it is a legendary. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a legendary, so 3 mana for a 3/3 draw a card isn't that bad. The ping...
I think he needs to be... I think his stats need to be lower.
Maybe like
I
a
like
2/2
his effect.
Or something.
Yeah, his effect's great.
Definitely. Very cool. And I like that, you know, you're like believing in the heart of the cards, and you got to draw that spell, and you get to do like a little Medivh's Valet.
Yeah. No, that's great.
That's funny. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, if Medivh's Valet can come out at 2 mana 2/3 and pop something for 3, like...
The condition to have a secret's way harder to do than the condition to draw a card and have it be a spell.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And then the last card he submitted is a 4 mana epic spell called Scrubber Mark 1, which erases the opponent's hero power for 2 turns. So you just shut it down.
You just wipe it away. You just scrub it off.
So who knew that house electric powered house cleaning supplies could be so good?
That's like, I don't know. I think if you're gonna spend 4 mana, I mean, that's how much 2 hero powers costs. So
exactly.
Maybe that's fair.
I mean, Warlock would hate that, right? It's like missing 2 taps, you know?
Yeah, it'd be great.
All right. moving on, we have the saltiest dog from Mana X. Definitely,
I loved this one.
Definitely loving this one too. So, the hero power is called Who's a Salty Boy? It's 2 mana to recruit a random beast or pirate that costs 2 or less. That immediately strikes me as super overpowered right off the bat because you're drawing a card for 2 mana.
Yeah.
And it's a tempo play. It's not like to the level of like hero power balance that the other ones are. So it's just a little little
it's. But however,
yes.
you could very well run out, and if you don't run out, then you're using a deck that has way too many 2-drops in it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know,
it's
but
like, it's
it
just
is
like
probably,
build your own call to arms, you know, like
yeah, it is probably a little OP.
Yeah,
just get a free card and it goes on board. So
2 mana, draw a card and play it for free. It seems good. But let's take a look at the other cards. We have a epic 3 mana 2/1 pirate that battle cries to summon a random animal companion. So, it's animal companion on a stick with a 2/1. That's a pirate. So that's interesting.
So pretty good.
Pretty darn good. I mean, it is a legendary. So
I'd put this at 4 mana, I think.
Yeah, just because you do get it on a stick or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
you get yeah, exactly. It's called Jesse and Baxter, by the way. I don't know who you mentioned. Who submitted this one? Oh, Mana X.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned in their Twitter submission that more about Jesse and Baxter, and I just don't know who they are, what this is a reference to. But it's a pirate with a dog, so I
get it. Yeah, I like
whatever.
So whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So, and the last one's called Dig for Treasure. It's 5 mana to discover a weapon from any class. If you control a pirate, equip it. If you control a beast, it costs 2 less. So this is the Beast Pirate deck.
Yep, because he's the saltiest dog.
So I mean, so the best thing is if you control a pirate, you just get to equip it for free. But if you only control a beast, it goes into your hand and it costs 2 less.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you control a beast and a pirate, this is 3 mana, discover a weapon, equip it.
That's way too strong.
I don't know. Because it could be like Light's Justice, Argent Lance, Molten Blade.
Yeah, but it could also be like Woke Lever and fucking Rune Spear and Arcanite Reaper. And
yeah, I guess out of 3 choices, you're bound to get a pretty good one.
Yeah,
but it's not easy to have 2 specific types of minions on the board at once.
Right. That's
so
true.
I don't know. But I really liked the.
It's got a good aesthetic for sure.
Dogs, man.
Dogs and pirates and salt. I like it. It's all good.
Yeah, this was an auto. I don't know if you were pandering to us, Mana X, but it worked. So.
All right, moving on from Rent's End, we have Weapon Mechanic. 2 for a hero power called Minor Upgrade. It adds a spare part to your hand. So it's 2 mana to get a 1 mana random spell that can do different things. For example, just if we have people listening who weren't playing during the whole Goblins versus Gnomes thing where spare parts were a thing, they do minor little things like add +1 attack to your minion or +1 health or freeze a minion, or they return a minion to your hand. Different. I think that may be all of them. I don't know if... Oh, and there's one that gives a minion stealth until end of turn. So they're just like little 1 mana spells that do something fun, like, and helpful. So that's interesting. Like just getting those. I mean, you're paying 2 mana to like unlock the ability to use them, so it doesn't give you anything right away. But
you know what? Because like comparing this to Warlock, spare part cards are definitely worse than cards in your deck. You don't take damage, but does Warlock really care about the damage that they're taking?
Well,
I think the spare part should cost 0.
Maybe it should, but it's really going to depend on how much the minions of the deck would synergize with spare parts. So let's see. We have Freezatron 3000, which is 4 mana for a 2/7 that has taunt and freeze any characters damaged by this minion. So this is the shaman card, but just 1 less mana. The Voodoo Hexer.
Voodoo Hexer, yeah.
So,
and this probably would be a mech. It doesn't say it's a mech, but it's a mech.
Yeah, that would definitely be a mech tribe. So this, I mean, it would at least need to be 1 more mana to be balanced around Voodoo Hexer.
Yeah, but then it's
unless like we're making up for like the fact that the hero power is a little underpowered in this class, and like so it gets stronger minions. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
that could be it.
And the next one is a spell. It's a rare spell called Minor Mech Mount. It's 1 mana to give a minion +1/+1 and Death Rattle to add a spare part to your hand. Now that's a really well designed card. I think I like that. It's similar to Power Word Shield. Again, like drawing a card's probably a little better, but +1 is +1/+1 better than +0/+2. It has a little bit more applications.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah.
I want to say like this class needs the spare parts to cost. They normally cost 1, right?
Yes, spare parts cost 1.
I feel like this class needs them to cost 0 in order for it to really like get off the ground, because it's a lot of things that make them, but like are you really going to want to spend 3 mana in a turn to like give something +1 attack?
Right, like generating it. But I mean, you can put a lot of cheap spells into your hand, and that can synergize with things in the class. You know, we couldn't have like entire, you know, basic and classic sets worth of cards for this challenge. So yeah, just with like a little bit of just like imagination, I can kind of see it. Like if they're just so powerful that it's actually worth it at a certain point.
You do have to beware of 0 cost things.
You do.
So
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you could add 2 spare parts to your. I don't know. But anyway, the main thing about this is a lot of people submitted classes that are like it's not like a specific character or something. It's like just like a class that you might see in like a crazy RPG like Final Fantasy or Bravely Default or something. Like you have a mechanic here. There's one coming up later that I really like that was just like a kind of a general like RPG world sort of class. You know, that our previous one from Tachyon, Irisval, seemed like some kind of mind mage, you know. So I really like these ones that were kind of creating this whole new flavor, a new actual believable class.
Yeah, very,
you know, for a card game like this.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on, up next from I'm a Dragon, we have Gallywix. He just decided to take an already existing card and make him into a hero, and I've always liked Gallywix. So he's got the hero power pay up 2 mana to put a coin into your hand. Kind of similar to the spare parts thing, where you're getting a cheap spell, only this is of course free.
Yeah.
So
I think what's first of all, I saw in the tweet from I'm a Dragon that this is going to be called the Merchant class. Okay. So the class actually has a name, so you know there could potentially be other heroes besides Gallywix that are merchants. But the idea behind this class is that, and I guess we don't have an example of a minion that does this, but the idea is that you are supposed to be able to use coins to pay off your minions to gain bonus effects. And one thing that I'm kind of not sure about, but what I sort of speculate here is, so one of the cards that I'm a Dragon design was called Elven Coin. So it's the coin. It's 0 mana, but it deals 1 damage to a minion, and it's got the subtype coin. So it's not giving you mana, but I'm assuming that pay up is going to be able to add a random like of this assortment of these coins to your hand. It's not
always going to be like a +1 mana coin.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting. So
I see.
Which I think is really, really cool. Like you get this free 1 damage, a free 1 mana. You know, maybe you could even get counterfeit coins because it is a coin. So
right, which anyway, is, I mean, counterfeit coins are the same thing as the coin.
Yeah. But there's a lot you could even get Gallywix coins.
That's true.
Because that is
which is also a coin.
There's also a type of coin. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I think that there would have to be a few other like effects on coins, like deal 1 damage, gain a mana, but also other things like maybe heal 1 point of damage, like on any target or whatever, just so that like maybe 4 at least different types of coins that you can get, so that you can't just play this class and be guaranteed to continuously get the 1 mana coin and then just like cheat out something super early.
Yeah, I think that there being a variety of coins is what, like kind of like with Shaman, is what's going to make this work. I wish they had submitted an example of a minion that you use that you pay off by spending a coin that turn. But the other card they made was called Coin Forger, which is a 2 mana 2/3 that death rattles to put a coin into your hand. So also, I'm assuming it could be one of many different coins.
Yeah, like one of those like 4 coins or whatever, however many different coins you could have. Yeah. I
really, really liked this one. Like, I want to see a whole class designed after this one. Like, it seems like just really like so much potential for like some really cool design to happen with this. So
definitely. I agree.
And that merchant class, like that, you know, that's such like a classic fantasy. Like, I'm not a fighter, but I'm going to pay things to fight for me. I really like, you know, I like that idea. So
I can just imagine every time you press that hero power, he goes, "Where's my cut?" Ding!
Yeah.
No, definitely. Very, very, very cool design. I like it a lot. All right, and lastly, our last submission choice for the competition today is from Dougie, who gives us Illidan Stormrage, which I'm going to assume is like either Demon or Demon Hunter type class.
Yeah, it'd be Demon Hunter, right?
Yeah, this would be a Demon Hunter. So, we definitely like the aesthetic and everything of this one, but just like a disclaimer, like it is super overpowered just right off the bat. But I think it could be balanced if some numbers were changed and stuff. So the hero power is called Fel Barrage, which is 2 mana to deal 2 damage to a minion, and you can use it twice a turn. So this is just like no other class could possibly stand in the same universe as Illidan Stormrage with this power.
He'd have to have like the worst cards and like 10 health.
Yeah, you could absolutely decimate any board that your opponent could possibly generate like early. And it gets worse for your opponent too. Because if you get the legendary weapon Blades of Azzinoth, which is a 6 mana 3/4, your hero power is 0 while it's equipped, so you just get to nuke minions for free while you stab them.
Yeah.
I definitely think, like, so do we think that Fel Barrage would be a balanced hero power if you could use it once? I still think it might even...
Shadow form. I mean...
No, you can't hit face with it.
Well, remember my card creation?
Yes.
And we said that was too oppressive
but
because
you're definitely right. It's still too much.
Yeah, it's two damage to minions starting at, you know, turn 2 or turn 1 with the coin is just too oppressive.
Yeah, and if it was... Maybe if it was deal 1 damage to a minion can be used twice a turn.
That would be interesting.
That wouldn't be bad because it's not as good as mages because you can't hit face, technically.
Yeah. That's okay, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you're spending 4 mana on 2 damage, generating maybe like a little card advantage, but...
Yeah. And the Blades of Azzinoth would also be balanced around a hero power that was free for 2 damage.
Yeah.
So, it's the hero power that was a little out of control.
Yeah, the hero power is great.
And the final card actually uses a keyword that Dougie had created for our previous challenge, which is called Priority, and
It's First Strike.
Okay, it is for First Strike. Because I remember we had another one that was Prioritize, too, and I was like getting confused. So Priority would mean that this minion would deal its damage first in combat with other minions. So if the minion had 3 health, it would be killed and wouldn't even hurt the Fel Assassin back. But the Fel Assassin's a 4 mana 3/6 Priority Wind Fury. Which may be like the only decent Wind Fury minion that's ever been printed.
Because you could just shred your opponent's side with that. I don't know, maybe 5 mana for this.
I think so too, because I'm just like comparing it to Priest of the Feast, which is powerful in its own right, but like it's not that strong.
But man, if you've got good targets and this thing survives, you're just gonna shred your opponent's board.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I think 5 mana is more in the ballpark for that one.
I definitely liked this submission thematically. Like Illidan's obviously just cool, and demon hunters are cool, and I think the idea of the fell assassin with everyone's dual wielding because they're demon hunters, so she's got Wind Fury and she strikes first, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and I get the whole why the hero power would have the caveat can be used twice, because Illidan's all about like two things. I've got 2 glaives, I can do 2 things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's got 2 horns and 2 wings,
2 glaives, 2 nuts.
Yeah, obviously
2 skulls. He's got 2 skulls.
You're right.
He has his own, and he has Gul'dan's.
Yeah, he's and they're called the Twin Blades of Azeroth. So yeah, I get it. I like it. It's on brand.
Yeah, liked it.
So all right, that's the end of basically the ones that we picked from submissions. We liked them all. It was a lot of fun, like seeing what you guys came up with. And we just had like a ton of cards to sift through. It was really tough decisions.
Yeah, I would say the main thing that kept entries from getting in this week was they were too complex. Hearthstone is we like to judge our card creation cards on balance, creativity, and like believability. Like, could you see this in Hearthstone? And as we all know, Hearthstone is deceptively simple, insanely fun. So they really like to keep things simple. So when it's when there's a wall of text there, it kind of makes it like a less believable card, especially if it's an entire hero. That those are some of the simplest mechanics in the game, hero power mechanics. So none of that can be too complicated.
Definitely.
But,
so yeah, when going for like to try to kind of get like the aesthetic that you're going for the character or whatever the spell that you're trying to do, it's a little bit more important to make sure that it would fit into Hearthstone and actually not be like terrible or like super dominating, more so than it is to like make sure that you got like every facet of like that character like worked into the card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just definitely balance is super important there. But hey, let's take a look at ours. We don't always even get it spot on, but we always do rise to our own challenge, of course. And up first is Dookie's with Niken Charslayer, which I remember this character from our days playing
D&D,
Guild Wars.
And Guild Wars.
Guild Wars is where it was born.
Yes, Guild Wars is where it was born. But that was his name in D&D also.
Yeah.
But the anyway,
the Char were actually a race from Guild Wars. So yeah.
That's right. And his backstory in our D&D campaign was that he was actually transported from that world to our world. Oh, some shit. But anyway. So Niken Charslayer. He is the Berserker class. Or maybe Barbarian. I couldn't make up my mind. But you get the idea. And barbarians in RPGs typically have things that help them cling on to 1 health or near death, but still be able to hang on and become invincible. They have like bloodthirst sort of abilities where they actually heal from attacking.
Yes. Yeah.
Which in Hearthstone is called lifesteal.
Yes.
And they are also reckless and inflicting out self-destructive.
They teach themselves lessons.
I instruct you to hurt yourself and your enemy. So the Berserker hero power is called Reckless Swing, and I actually spent a lot of time balancing these. So I definitely want you guys' input on whether or not this stuff is OP or balanced or whatever. But Reckless Swing is of course 2 mana, and it deals 2 damage to a random enemy and 2 damage to your hero. So this could end up really oppressive early game, but you are hurting yourself, and you might just hit the hero in the face, and then it's just worse than the Hunter hero power. So I feel like that's balanced.
Yeah.
The second card is a common 4 mana 4/1 called Bloodthirsty Berserker. It has charge, and it has intercept, which is the ability that I made up for our last challenge. And intercept is when a minion gets played, this minion attacks it. When your opponent plays a minion, this minion attacks it. So he's got charge, intercept, and he can't be reduced below 1 health while intercepting, and he's a 4/1. So I costed him the same as Kor'kron Elite, so you still get a 4-power, 4-mana charge minion. He's easier to kill, but he's more hateful towards your opponent playing minions. So they have to deal with him before they put out anything, or else it's going to get smacked for 4, and he's going to live.
Yeah.
So
I do wonder if it wouldn't be too overpowered to have him as a 4/2, just because of how many classes can straight up remove this with their hero power. That's like the only thing.
Yeah,
like, you got
but
daggers,
at the end of the
day,
day, like, I know, yeah. At the end of the day, though, you still get that 4-mana, 4 face damage. Like, it's still never like bad. You're never sad about that.
Right. I understand.
Second card is called Bloodthirst. This was a WoW warrior ability if you were in Berserker stance, and it just did a bunch of damage and it healed you. So kind of balance this around Heroic Strike. It's 3 mana for gain 4 attack this turn. If your hero has 10 or less health, instead gain 6 attack and lifesteal this turn. So again, basing it around becoming more powerful when you're hurt, and then healing when you deal damage. And if you got that Bloodthirst theme. So
this does strike an interesting balance between specifically Heroic Strike and Mortal Strike, because of course Heroic Strike is 2 mana deal to gain 4 attack. Mortal Strike being 4 mana to deal 4 damage or 6 damage if you're below 12, I think, or is it 15? I think it's 12.
12. Yeah.
So this is right in between them. It's not as good as Heroic Strike if you're not at 10 or less, because it's just 1 more mana for the same thing. And then it's slightly better than Mortal Strike if you are at 10 or less, because it's the same amount for 1 less mana, but it also doesn't have reach, but it does have lifesteal. So yeah, I do think that you found like the right balance.
Yeah.
There.
Okay. Yeah. That's I hadn't thought about Mortal Strike, so with that in mind, I feel like this is very balanced. And then the third card, this was an epic weapon for World of Warcraft, so it's an epic weapon for me. It's called Hellrender. It's a 7 mana 4/3 lifesteal intercept. So you can equip it, swing, maybe kill something, gain health, and then the next 2 minions your opponent plays are going to get automatically smacked in the face for 4, and you're going to get healed for 4. This is abusable because at 7 mana, your opponent has access to late game stuff that they could throw down and make you hit and deal you tons of damage. So this card is definitely a bit of a gamble to play, but it's got a lot of immediate just power packed into it. So I don't know if it's good. This was the hardest one to balance.
Yeah, I don't think it's perfect, but I do see it being tough to balance around for sure. But it's I do like the idea of having intercept on a hero, like attached to a weapon. I'm not sure where that line is. It's hard to draw that line without extensive tensing.
Extensive tense. Something appears and he's just like, ah!
Yeah.
He just has to go kill it.
Makes a lot of sense. Where did you find the art for Niken, by the way? That does look like what I picture him as.
I just typed in barbarian or berserker or something.
That's so funny. He's even a red beard.
I know, with the red beard and everything. I was like, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then I made the background of it, but that's
nice.
Yeah,
nice. All right.
So that's my card.
Lastly, I didn't really think about what to call this, but I think just on the fly, I'm going to call this Shadow Hunter, which is actually a class in World of Warcraft. It's never been playable, but certain non-player characters are Shadow Hunters, like Vol'jin, for example, is a Shadow Hunter. And it's kind of like a mixture between shadow magic and physical attack being important. So, I just named him Clash. And the hero power is called Vampiric Embrace. It's 2 mana to give a minion lifesteal until the end of your next turn. So Vampiric Embrace is a Shadow Priest spell in World of Warcraft, and it allows you to turn your damage into healing, which has always been something super, super cool to me, and something I always like to do. So it gives your minion, if it's a charge minion or a minion that's already been down for a turn, it gives it 2 swings worth of lifesteal, or it allows you to play this alongside a minion that was just played, and you still get to use the lifesteal on the following turn, after its, its summoning sickness or what have you has worn off.
Yeah.
So it definitely doesn't, give you really tempo or, improve your board position at all, but it does allow you to creatively give yourself longevity in the game, a lot of heal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I like it because you can even do it to your opponent's stuff.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, I think that would heal your opponent.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It would be too strong if you could just be like, okay, this minion can't hurt me for the next 2 turns.
Yeah.
But all right, next, for my minions and spells, the first thing, this is kind of the most important thing, so I'll read it first. It's a legendary spell called Grave Pact, which uses the keyword I created in last week's challenge, which is called Aura, which is a spell that's so powerful that its effect becomes a permanent effect on the game for every turn after you use it. So Grave Pact is actually named after a magic card, and I actually used the art from the magic card. Just a little shout out. This has always been my favorite card in Magic, and it does the same thing. So it's 6 mana to choose a friendly minion, destroy it, and a random enemy minion. This was an ability called Sacrificing in Magic. You would sacrifice your minion and force your opponent to choose a minion to sacrifice. So in a way, it's even stronger than Sacrificing because it's a random minion, so you can hit their best minion. The aura it creates is whenever a friendly minion dies, destroy a random enemy minion. Now that's definitely, it is powerful, but there's definitely a lot of decks where it would almost be useless against. Very off-board decks that, deal you a lot of face damage like Burn Mage, decks that have Death Rattle minions. This does absolutely nothing to the current Cube or Control Warlocks. They don't care if their Void Lords die. They bring them back 17 million times, and they make 40,000 minions when they die.
Yeah.
But certain decks this would become very impressive against. But, it is legendary, so you only get the 1 copy. When are you going to get it? All that fun stuff.
Yeah. So it's hard to say how, if it would be OP or not.
It is hard to say.
You have to, because we've never dealt with aura type thing. One thing I will say though is I think if auras were introduced, I think they would need to also be able to be destroyed.
Right. I don't know, but potentially. Here's an example of a minion that could potentially, in certain circumstances, abuse this aura if it was already down. It's called Blood Crazed Geist. It's a 2-mana 2/1, which is balanced around the bluegill warrior, the Murloc, but it doesn't have a tribe, so you can't get burst damage and stuff added on top. What it has is charge, and another ability that I created just for this called Execute, which means it activates when your opponent is at 10 or less health. That's something that was a big thing in the World of Warcraft game. Was there was an execute phase for bosses when they were under a certain amount of health. Abilities that were previously unusable became active, and they were very damaging and helpful abilities to close out the game.
The warrior card, Execute.
Yes.
That was the ability in WoW.
Yeah, exactly. It was the ability for warrior. And for Shadow Priest, fun tidbit, it was actually Shadow or Death. That's where that came from. So it's execute. When your opponent's within execute range, it gains Death Rattle to return the minion to your hand. So you can already see the synergy there with Grave Pact. If they're in execute, you can just murder this on minions and be getting them out of the way, because this repeatedly dies, returns to your hand, and then dies again.
Yeah.
But also, you can exploit the damage that you get directly to face. But in general, it's a pretty weak minion, and that's how this class would be balanced, is around minions that don't give you a lot of board presence, that get removed fairly easily. So it becomes this dance of trying to keep yourself alive while inching your opponent towards the execute phase when you get much more powerful. And the final card, which really shows you how to take advantage of the execute phase, is Shadow Word Annihilate, which is 4 mana to deal 4 damage. But it also damages your hero for an equal amount, and it has execute double the damage dealt. So this is just in general, a bad burn until you reach the execute phase. 4 mana to deal 4 damage is already bad. Then you've got to take 4 damage yourself. I mean, just compare it to Tidal Surge, compare it to Fireball. Like, that's just a bad thing. Like, not something you want to have to do. But 4 mana for 8 damage to your opponent's face is incredible if you can get them into the execute phase, and if you can even cast this at that time without dying. So it is a little bit of an extreme ability, but I don't think, at least it readily apparent to me, that it's like super overpowered or like consistently exploitable. And that's basically, that's the class would be balanced around trying to... It's a long, protracted game, getting them there, but then, like, once you hit that execute phase, like, you close it out relatively quickly.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that the execute phase is, like, the name of the game for this class.
Yeah, it's like the win condition is... Like, you're never going to OTK them or anything, but once you get them down there, like, then you can close it out. So... No more letting your your opponent win at 1 health just because they managed to hold you off.
Right.
Because that nothing tilts me like that.
Oh, I know. It's
So hey, we're back.
You know, I know. Yeah.
So that was a super fun challenge that took a lot of thinking. You know, that was not just design a card, that was designing like multiple cards and like how they interact with each other, and so everybody did a great job. You know, even if we didn't, like Dookie was saying earlier, if you didn't make it into the final 6, it's not saying that we didn't enjoy your card or it wasn't good or anything. It's just, you know, we got some good card creators here at the Salty Dog.
We really do. Maybe some of you have jobs at Blizzard.
Secretly.
Secretly. Or in your future.
Yeah, right? So, anyway, I think that is going to pretty much bring the show to a close for today, though. That was a nice long episode. We had a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Do you have a prompt for our next card creation challenge?
Oh my god, I didn't even remember.
Should I tell us where they can find us? Should I tell them where they can find us?
That, and then I'll sit here quietly.
So you can follow us on Twitter at Salty Dog Podcast. That is going to be the best way to submit card creation submissions to us, and also to ask us questions for our Q&A section and just know what's going on with the show. If you want to follow me personally, my Twitter is at DookieShed, DOOKIESHED, and Clash is at KLASHA. Oh my god, I can't talk. At KLASHE_HS.
Yes.
And we stream every Tuesday and Wednesday, or sorry, Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesdays is just gameplay. We just play whatever we want. Sometimes it's Hearthstone, sometimes it's other stuff. And on Thursday, of course, is our show at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And if you could give us good ratings wherever you listen to us, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, indeed.
So what's our next card creation challenge?
So what was sad is that I did think of it and then I had forgotten it, but I just remembered it again, so we're good. So with Coldlight Oracle rotating out, I mean, I'm sure like the intent or whatever is for fatigue decks or mill decks, whatever you want to call them, to not be a thing anymore. But I still think that there would be more creative ways that we could like push our opponents at least a little closer to fatigue. So create a card that somehow removes cards from your opponent's deck, or like in some creative way pushes your opponent further into fatigue, like ahead of you, like somehow removes cards from their deck or destroys them or whatever it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or
forces them to draw them.
Yeah, either draw or some kind of card that removes cards from your opponent's deck. Also could remove cards from your deck too, like is there one that does both? Hemet just does yours, right?
Yeah, Hemet blows all the cards out of
just
your
does
deck
yours, yeah.
under
so
a certain...
yeah. But as long as it's your opponent that's fatiguing,
yeah, I mean, it can hit you
yeah.
both. Like Coldlight Oracle is a perfect example because they balance it around you have to draw too, and it can be something like that too. But you know, just like basically like like a slot that Coldlight Oracle is no longer filling. Like, make a card for that.
All right, yeah, replace Coldlight Oracle.
Essentially.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Well, there you go.
So, yeah. Great show, guys. Thanks for coming out as always. And until next week, stay salty.
Stay salty.